My dear students, welcome. Today we are going to discuss how to enter the data into the SPSS. We will then able to play with the data according to the objective of our study or our research questions, but that is of course a later stage. The very first stage is to learn how to enter the data into the SPSS. When you click on the SPSS, the interface of this is the interface of the SPSS. You find two sheets. One is known as data view and the another one is known as variable view. On the data view, you will find the facts, the figures of the data, while on the variable view, where we explain the meaning of the variables. With the passage of time, I will give you the examples, how important it is to explain the meaning or the concept of the variable. For example, to make it easy, I will consider a questionnaire. For example, this is a questionnaire. You are collecting the data from the respondent. You can see that in this questionnaire I have diversified it into different sections. The first section is to collect the demographic data of the student, the participant. Like you can see, the very first question is about the organization, whether the participant is working, whether the participant is government employee or private employee. Second, gender, whether the participant, he or she is male or female. About her or his age, his education level, and his specialization, and so on. In SPSS, when we will later on analyze the data, we are supposed to make the coding to convert this qualitative information into the figures. For government employee, suppose I am going to write 1 by 1, I mean government employee, and if a participant is a private employee, he will click on a private and we are supposed to enter a 0. 0 is for a private employee and 1 is for government employee. Similarly, in gender case, 1 means male and 0 means a female. Now from this questionnaire we will learn how to enter a data. Suppose the first question is filled by a participant, and now you are going to enter the data. But before entering the data, you are supposed to write the title of the variables. In name, we are going to write the name of the variable. You can see there is no any variable yet generated. In name, suppose I am writing, the very first question is regarding the organization. Suppose I write here by org, I mean organization. I will explain this each column. It's very important to understand, to make this all easy. I will give some example also, but the first is I am going to only enter the data of the section 1. Now you can see the second question is regarding the gender, whether he or she is male or female. Now if you see the data view, now you can see that there are two variables are generated. The data is not yet entered. Yes, mostly we are interested in enter the data of the participant also. I think we should insert the respondents participation. Let me write a participant, PRT. By participant I mean the data collected from the participant 1, 2, 3. Similarly, you are supposed to write the variable name in this column, like the specialization, the organizations, etc. You can see that I have wrote the name of the variables only: participant, organization, age, education, experience of the employee. And later on I also enter the section 1 data. In section 1 we are going to measure the job satisfaction level of an participant. I have 6 questions to determine the job satisfaction level of an employee. In this research questions, we are interested in knowing the job satisfaction level of the employee. The independent variables are organizational justice, procedural justice, and so on. But we are at this stage only interested how to enter the data. Now you can see that for the job satisfaction level, this is a qualitative information which we are going to convert into the figures, because for analysis we need to convert this data into the quantitative form. By 1 we mean strongly disagree, by 2 we mean disagree, and by 3 we mean neither agreed nor neither disagreed. Similarly, 4 by 4 we mean agreed, and 5 by 5 we mean strongly agreed. This is the 5 Likert scale questionnaire. From 1 to 5 we are moving from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Now while entering the data, I am supposed to enter the response of each participant, like question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see here question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even to make it easy, you can write like this: job satisfaction 1. It means the question number 1 regarding the job satisfaction. But one thing you have to keep in mind, that in SPSS space is not allowed. Like for example, if I say the GS space 3, now you can see that this is considered illegal, so then you are supposed to take care of the space. Job satisfaction 4, job satisfaction 5, job satisfaction 6. So there are 6 questions regarding the job satisfaction. So now let's start the entering the data. I will also, it's very important that you should understand the other columns, but with the passage of time I will make it will be more easy if with the passage of time, with example, we understand it. Now you can see that in the data view we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. These variables are now generated. Now for example, if you receive the questionnaire from the first participant, we write here 1, and in organization, as I told you, that we will code it into the 1 and 0. If the person is a government employee, you are supposed to write here 1, and similarly the age of the employee, suppose it is 35, education, suppose it is the 16 year, his specializations in a subject, similarly his designation, his experience, and his answer. If you again open the questionnaire, suppose if a person says, when you ask him, I'm often bored with my job, if he or she is strongly disagree with this question, he will click on 1, which show that he is strongly disagree. So we are then not supposed to write the strongly agree or disagree in this data. We are then supposed to write here 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, the response of the participant. Now my dear, it's very important that you are supposed to explain the type of the variable. Like in participant, when by type we mean, for when you click on this button, it gives you the different option. It asks you whether this data is in the numeric form, or whether this data is in a date form, dollar form or string. Mostly you will find an issue when you are entering a data. For example, if you click a string, by string it means that this data is in alphabetic form. Like for example, if I click here 2, 3, 4 and 5, now SPSS consider this information as alphabetic information. Now if I'm interested to find the descriptive statistic, I mean the arithmetic mean of this variable, like for example I click on analyze descriptive. Now you can see that the participant variable is not given here. The reason for this is that we have considered as in a string, which means that this is considered alphabetic in SPSS. So the alphabetics are not going to be considered for descriptive statistics, because in descriptive statistics we used to take the mean of the data, the standard deviation of the data. For that, it is important that it should be in a numeric form. Like for example, if I convert it into the numeric form, I say okay. No, you can see that these figures are considered numeric values. So if you again go in a descriptive statistics and you click on, you can see that the participant is here. You can find out the descriptive statistics of the variable one, which is participant one. It shows you that the on average there are 3, and this is standard deviation, minimum and maximum. So this is why I used to say that it's very important to make it understandable to the SPSS that what does this figures means, whether it is a string or whether it is a numeric value. Like for example, if you are interested in, there is a suppose a variable that is, for example, you are interested in taking information of the salary. Now if I explain here that this should be in a dollar form, in okay, no, look, this is the variable of salary. If a person is having 10,000 salary, look, I didn't click any dollar sign, but you can see it is now data is automatically converted into a dollar. Why? Because you have explained the concept of this variable, that this variable is supposed to be recorded in a dollar form. Similarly, if I select here numeric only, so that it is not going to convert it into the dollar. Now you can see that there is no dollar. These things will help you when you analyze the data, and then in the table, when this figure will be then shown in the table in a dollar form if you have selected a dollar sign from here. So it is very important that you make it explain to the SPSS that what kind of data this is. So by type we means how how SPSS should consider this variable. For example, if you are similarly, if you are interested, if your interest is that you don't want to, for example, if let me talk about the specialization. Let's see in specialization. For example, you are interested that it should be recorded in a alphabetic form. So this is the specialization. Specialization in suppose finance. Now these variable will be whenever you fill it, like for example finance, physics, engineer. No, these variable is considered by the SPSS in alphabetic form because you have clicked here string. Similarly, if you have a date of birth data of the employee, date of birth. Now the date of birth data should be in a date form. You can see that we have the option of date. Yes. Now if you are interested, you can see that when I enter the data, it is converting it into the date form. So this is why it's very important that you make it explain to the SPSS that what does we mean by the variable, what is its name, and what is its type. By this, now let's go to the another. Similarly, you can look for the another options which is more relevant to you. You can look into this. There are different options available. It will depend on your data. Now come out to the width. Decimal means let's suppose I have clicked here 0, so it means that in this case if I enter the data in participant, there should be no figures after the decimal means point. Like you can see that I enter the here 1.5, but as I have feeded this like that, it should not consider any decimal after the point, so that is why it is then converting it into the no decimal. The weight is also explained there. Similarly, in organizations, if I see, it's very clear that I have considered the 2 decimal should be considered after. So now you can see that 1.00, it's considering 2 decimal. In education, for example, I have written 16. Let me make it to 0. Before you see, it's written 16.00. If I make it 0, so it will not consider any figure after the decimal. Now you can see it's 16 is only written. Okay, label it's very important for the data presentation in the research papers or wherever you are reporting it. By label we mean this name will be presented in the table form. Like for example, by PART I make it short for myself, but if here I used to write that PRT means participant. Similarly, by ORG I means organization. Now if I analyze this data in table, these labels will be reported. Like for example, if I took the descriptive, let me enter some data here. I have already entered this data. Let me copy it, then we can play with it. Now for these are the responses of participant 1, 2, 3, and these are the organization 1, 2. By we will by 1 we means government employee, and by 2 I mean private employee. This data is entered other way. Okay, this is the data. Just for the sake of understanding, now you can see that the ORG is titled as organization. If I found the descriptive statistic of participant and organization, by here you can select the interesting variable, you can remove it. Similarly, you can select it. If I enter the OK, now you can see this is the table of the descriptive statistic. But while in table, the title of the variable is now reported as organization. Previously it was written only PART because we left the label empty, but now we have explained that by the PRT we means participant. Now the same thing is going to be reported in the table. So it's very important that no doubt if you are you can write a short name here in a variable name, but if it is important for you, then make it clear in the label because it is going to be reported into the table. Okay, another one is the value where, like in questionnaire I told you that by strongly disagree I'm going to code it by 1. Similarly, disagree is going to be coded by 2. Now we are supposed to feed this data in SPSS and let us tell the SPSS that what does I mean by 1 and 2 and 3. Like in this case, we are supposed to tell the SPSS that if I click 1, it means that you are supposed to consider it a government employee, and 0 or 2, by 2 or 0 we means that this is a private employee. So okay, sorry, this is gender, GEN. Now in value we make it understandable to the SPSS. Look, for example, in organization I'm coding it by 1 I mean government employee, by 2 I mean private employee. Similarly, gender, I am supposed to tell the SPSS that in gender value 1 means male, 2 means female. In education, there is no need to explain. In specialization, there is no need. In job title, in experience, yes. In job satisfaction, we have categorized it into the 5 Likert scale. By 1 we mean strongly disagree, so then you are supposed to tell this SPSS that by 1 I mean strongly disagree, by 2 I mean disagree. Now the same thing should be feeded in the other questionnaire also, because in the other questions we have the same criteria, that by 1 we mean strongly disagree and by 5 we mean strongly agree. Okay, once entering one time, let me repeat this section again. Look, I have coded this 1 2 3 4 5 by strongly disagree to strongly agree. If the same case is repeated again and again, you can simply copy it, Control C, and then you may paste it. It will make it easy for you. Now if you click on this, now it is also converted into from 1 to 5 strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay. I delete the data. Now the question number 1, if I feel the person is private, if a participant number 1 is a private employee, so I am supposed to write here 2. The gender, if a person is male, I am supposed to write here male. Similarly, education, job title, experience. Now in job satisfaction, we have converted it into the different codes, like 1 means strongly disagree. For the second question, a person is disagree. For the third question, is person is supposed agree and disagree. No, I am not writing here strongly agree or disagree. I am supposed to only write a coding here. But still, if you want to, if you are interested to check these information in alphabetic form, you can see here from the value labels. If I click on this, it will convert it into the alphabetic. Like I have written in male. For male, I have used the word 1, the figure 1 for job satisfaction. Now 1 2 3. Even if you are interested to see this in alphabetic form, you can see. What is the issue in 2 in organization? Okay, I didn't explain it in an organization, so let me explain it. By 1 I mean government employee, by 2 I mean private employee. Okay, now if I visit the, yes, now you can see that if I write here 2, so by 2 it means the person is a private employee. Similarly, if when you get information from the second participant, I am writing here 1, by 1 it shows me this person is a government employee. If I am writing 2, by 2 it means the female. A person is suppose agree. I am clicking here only for agree. We use the another thing, you can make it easy from here also. When you click on a 1 2 3 4, it will show you the option also. Like for example, a person is agree, click here on 4. And if you are not feeling comfortable with this alphabet order, you can convert it into the values also. You can see it, all these alphabetics are converted into the 1 2 3. So this is how, but it's very important that you first explain it to the SPSS that what does we mean by the 1, by what does we mean by the 2 3 4 and 5. So these things are you are supposed to consider in the column which is called values, where the data is purely quantitative, like the salary, the education, where you don't need to explain it, so then leave it like none. Where you need the coding, then you are supposed to feed the SPSS by considering as it. Okay, then the another one which is very very important is the last one, that is the Meyer. In Meyer, when you click on this, you have three options. One is the scale, one is the ordinal, and one is the nominal. Now it depends on the nature of your data. If your data is purely qualitative, like in this case the salary is a purely qualitative, so if the data is purely quantitative, then you are supposed to consider the option scale. Like for example, if I can see the education, if in this case we are considering education like 14 year, 16 year, 12 year, so if the data is purely quantitative like GDP, inflation, or the data of the temperature of the patient, if you have converted it into the purely quantitative form, like if I used to say that the temperature of the patient is 96, 97, 101. But if your data is in a qualitative form, you want to convert that information into the quantitative, then you have another two options. If you click on this, that is ordinal and nominal. Okay, let me make it easy for you. Okay, you can see that if the data is quantitative form, then you are supposed to consider the scale. But if this data is in a qualitative form, then you have two options where you are supposed to consider the ordinal or nominal. In ordinal, when the data is like in a ranked in a category form, like for example, in this case we have the job satisfaction level, we have considered the 5 Likert scale. We have categorized this qualitative information into the different categories, like by 1 we mean strongly disagree. Similarly, if for the recent pandemic, if I am supposed to study the age factor of the positive cases of corona, I categorize age groups into 3 different categories, like for example from 1 to 18, from 19 to 45, and from 46 to onward. So if I categorize data in this form, so then I am giving 1 2 3 option for a first group, age group, that is the from 1 to 18, I categorize it into group 1, and then the second one I categorize from 19 to 45 in group 2, and similarly in 3 the remaining one into the category 3. In such case, if the data is of this kind of form, then you are supposed to write here the, like in this job satisfaction, then I'm supposed to write here ordinal. Like in this case, we have categorized data into the 5 orders, 1 2 3 4 5. We mean from 1 to 5, we mean strongly disagree to agree, strongly agree. But on the other hand, if your data is in a nominal form, like for example the gender of the participant 1 and 2, or whether you are collecting a data, like for example if you are asking a person that whether you are affected from the corona, if the answer is in a yes and no option, in yes and no, only these 2 options are available, so then this means that such kind of data you are then supposed to write here nominal, like in like in our case. If you see the organization, so you have two options, whether it is the government employee or whether a person is a private employee. We will select here nominal. Similarly, in gender, we are supposed to consider the nominal. So if the data is qualitative but in the order form, then we are in the categorized form, then we are supposed to select here the ordinal. It's very important. If you do not consider it, it will create the problem in the analysis of the data. Further, here it is also the data is in a ordinal form, like the Likert scale. In salary, the data is in a pure quantitative form. Okay, so these are the most important information regarding the entering the data. You are supposed to explain it to the SPSS, otherwise then it will create the problem. Okay, thank you.